What is up, everybody? Sean Sheehan back here with another edition of the Sheehan Show on Sherdog.com, and today I'm back with my top 5 bets for the weekend in the world of mixed martial arts. There's 2 cards this weekend that I'm kind of majorly concerned with. I know there's some other stuff as well. I think there's an Octagon card, there's a Risen card, but today I'm going to be looking at a couple of fights from, the UFC card, which is not amazing, for being honest, and then the Cage Warriors card as well, which... it's here in my backyard. I'm going to be at it, so I'm a little bit biased, obviously, but I'm massively looking forward to that. So we're going to get into that. Last week's bets. Last week was not a week to write home about. So we had the 4 bets in the Flier. Now, first of all, the Flier, Deanna Bennett. She was winning the fight. It was a Flier, just a straight up Flier to win at around plus 360. I think she was even deeper than that in some places, but was winning. Liz Carmouche ended up getting the win there. But then the other fights, the Horiguchi fight, I gave him, that fight was cancelled. The Bobby Green fight was a no contest. And even in the Bennett fight, she missed weight. And in my other 2 picks, I did the minimum pick. It was a close fight. I thought it was going to be a close fight like that. I thought he might just get the edge, but he didn't. And then the Rafi and Stats pick was definitely a bad pick. I've major respect for Patchy Mix, but I've even more admiration for his ability after that. So last week, not a great week. 0 out of 2, which doesn't sound as bad because obviously the no contest bet went away. You got your money back for that. The fight that didn't happen. If you bet that, you got your money back for that. So I'm calling it 0 from 2. Should I do that? Should it be 0 from 3? I don't know. Let me know in the comment section. I can adjust my record, but the overall record as it stands now, 26 from 51, and 4 hit on the Flyers throughout the year. So, I know, some people might say that's bad, but I'm happy enough with it, to be honest. I'm happy getting 50-50 on the betting picks. Now, if it was just picks straight up, I'd be a little bit different, but I like to give you picks that I think might be a bit of value there as well. So we're doing that again this week here. And I'm going to go... I have my Flyers from the UFC, my first bet is from the UFC, and then the next 3 are from Cage Warriors. So first of all, to the UFC and to Caio Borralho. And my first bet of the week is Borralho to win by submission at plus 120. Now, to be honest here, I was kind of torn between giving this and giving Borralho to win by a knockout, which I believe is plus 750. We'll look at that in a second again as my Flyer of the week. But I went for this because I saw another Flyer that I kind of liked. So I've gone for the submission. And I suppose looking at Caio Borralho and looking at the way he's been fighting recently, I think people, maybe will be able to understand that. Now, he hasn't been getting loads of submissions or anything recently, but he has been, taking lads to the ground. He has been, beating lads up well on the ground. And you look at his opponent, Michal, his 3 of his 5 losses have been by submission, submitted by Jimmy Crute, submitted by OSP, and submitted earlier in his career as well outside of the UFC. So I really like that bet. Now, I like it because I like him via finish, and I think Caio Borralho is one of these guys that I know a lot of people are high on, but I don't know if are as people as high on him as I am. I am massively high on him. And when I say massively high, I mean massively high on him. I think he's a very, very, very good fighter. I watched him the first few times I watched him. I'm like, okay, this guy can fight all around, but he's more of a striker. I prefer him striking. And then recently, I'm like, well, is he? Is he more of a striker? He's beating the likes of Muradov on the ground, beating, Petrosian, a little bit different, I suppose, with the striking background and all that, but he's due a finish as well, which is the big thing here. People are probably looking at this and they're thinking, Shawnee, his last 3 wins in a row, all by decision, but it's coming. You watch those fights and you know it just feels like it's coming. He did have a finish on the Dana White Contender Series, and he has gone to decision a lot, I suppose, throughout his career. But I think Oleksiejczuk, and I'm absolutely getting that name 100% correct. So if anyone, if anyone doesn't like it, there you go. I think he's a good fighter. Don't get me wrong. He's a good record, 18-5. Absolutely nothing wrong with that. He's only 28 years of age. okay, he's lost to some good guys, but he's beaten the likes of Modestas Bukauskas, you know, who's looked good after coming back in and looked good in cage warriors as well. And, you know, John Vellante and other tough guys as well in there. But I think Borralho is just at a different sort of level. I think he's very, very, very good. And this is at middleweight as well, which I was skeptical as well, because he had a couple of fights in middleweight, a couple of fights at light heavyweight. I feel like himself and Jelton Almeida are both kind of debating which way should it be for Jelton, heavyweight or light heavyweight, and for Caio Borralho, is it middleweight or light heavyweight, you know? So I was light heavyweight at first when I'm looking at him, but now I think at middleweight he has a bit of a size advantage over a lot of lads. He has the strength advantage, which is good for him too, because of, you know, the way he's grappling a little bit more now. You know, he's 6'1" versus 6 foot, so it's not a big advantage here per se, but compared to if you're fighting, say, I saw Dustin Jacoby there, who's probably 6'4", 6'5" or something like that. You know, he might have an advantage skill wise, but he wouldn't have the advantage size wise, if you get me. So middleweight for Borralho is probably becoming more natural for him, and I do think Oleksiejczuk is a guy who can be gotten to, can be taken down, and I think if Borralho does that early, I think he could wear him out very well and end up getting the finish. So yeah, the first one, I'm going for first bet of the week, Caio Borralho via submission, plus 120. Actually, I'm just looking here again, it's plus 160 in a couple of places, so I think that's just changed since I was looking at that this morning, so I'm going to adjust that, plus 160 Caio Borralho by submission. Right, let's move over to cage warriors. Now, I've gone. So there's a lot of Irish lads on this card, and I've gone for. So I have 3 bets here. I've gone for 2 Irish lads and 1 lad fighting an Irish lad. So I'm probably going to be up there now. People give it out to me, you know, and all this. But I'm giving you my honest picks here, and the first pick I'll go with it. I'm going for Tobias Harila to win his fight in the featherweight division against Ryan Shelley, and he's minus 158. Now, I'm a big fan of Ryan Shelley, his brother Adam as well. I think they're very good in Team KF for a great gym. I feel like this is a little bit early in his career. I think Ian is great. He's a great matchmaker and he gets it right, and it's a great fight for Ireland, and I think it's going to be an almighty fight. If the James Sheehan Elliott fight, I've no betting that here. I think that's going to be the best technical fight. I think this is probably going to be fight of the night. These are 2 fights, and obviously the main event as well. I'll talk about that in a second, but these are the 2 fights you need to be looking out for if you're watching Cage Warriors here on Saturday night. But the Shelley Harila one, it's fighting Tobias Harila, and I'll tell you about him in a second if you don't know about him. But he's a guy I think you need a lot of smarts and a lot of experience to fight. And Ryan Shelley is just very young in his career, and that's the reason why I'm picking Harila. And in what is basically a pick'em fight, Harila 14 fights deep in his career, Shelley only has 6. And okay, let me describe the 2 guys. So Ryan Shelley came out of a taekwondo background, you know, with his brother as well, but has become a really good, well-rounded mixed martial artist. He can wrestle, he can box, he can do it all. You know, good kickboxer, but good especially in the clinch when defending, but can be offensive there as well. Good at defending takedowns, even against Matthew Elliott fight. We'll talk about more in a second. When he did get taken down, he was offensive off of his back as well. So mostly good things out of Ryan Shelley, right? Tobias Harila, he's like a fighter you don't really see. He is a go forward, head first, pressure, and if you stop him pressuring, he'll pressure you more, will go forever. He's like the Energizer Bunny. He's like, do you know the way Clay Guida is like never stops, but he's like, most of his never stopping is just him like kind of jumping around the outside. He's never stopping going forward, and he will wear you out. He will push you against the fence. He will land big shots. He will give you opportunities as well. Make no mistake about that, but he's a very hard guy to beat. The 2 guys that have beaten him recently, Samuel Bark and William Gomis, have done it in 2 different ways. We saw Gomis fighting at the weekend. You saw him fighting the weekend or saw him fighting before, you probably know how he did it. He ran around. He ran away, ran around. Samuel Bark came in right up through the middle, flying knee, knocked him out. That's 2 ways of doing it, right? So those are well available for Shelley. Like, can he fight really well on the outside? Yes. Can he throw big knockout blows throughout the middle? Yes. The only thing is, You look at those two lads, like William Gummies, and you only watched that fight against Harila, knows he was ready for the UFC at that stage, right? He was just tactically ready. Bark is just a world-class kickboxer. The reason I'm picking Harila here is because I don't think Shelley's quite there yet. Like, I think he is going to be fighting for a Cage Warriors title in years to come. If he wins this, he'll be fighting for it. So he's not too far away from it. And I think he'll be in the UFC in years to come. That's how much I think of him. But Tobias Harila is a very tough fight, and all the respect in the world for Tobias for taking this fight, for Ryan for taking this fight, for their coaches, for the matchmakers and all for putting a fight like this together, because this is a fight that lads don't need to take on the regional scene. You know, they're like, well, let's avoid these lads, let's avoid Ryan, let's avoid Tobias, and we'll try to get to the UFC another way. But no, they're going in there, they're taking it, they're testing themselves. If they get a setback, okay, they'll get another bit of matchmaking, win another few fights and get there as well. But I respect them for taking this. I'm picking Harila because I think that pressure will tell. In the Matthew Elliott fight, you know, Shelley did very well on the ground when he got there, but he did get taken there constantly. You know, he's taken down many times, and I think if Matthew Elliott can do it, I think Matthew's probably a slightly better wrestler, pure wrestler than Harila, but the pressure of Harila, if he adds in like double legs and single legs enough, which sometimes he doesn't, if I'm being honest, but if he does, and I think he probably will here, I think he will be able to get a few takedowns, even though Shelley is very good in the clinch and he's very good at stopping lads and taking them down. But if he does that, I think he's going to find it hard, Shelley, to get up. And I think he's going to find it hard if he does that. Let's say, even if he does get up once, he does get up twice. The third, fourth, fifth takedown attempt, or let's say 3 takedown attempts and then a clinch attempt, and then another takedown attempt, and then 2 clinch attempts. That's just going to be wearing and wearing and wearing and wearing. And I think that's how Harila will win the fight. I think he'll wear him out. I think this is going to be 3 rounds of him just pull out, drag out fight, and you couldn't pick, if you picked anyone on the regional scene for Ryan Shelley, I don't think you could have picked a tougher matchup. So credit, as I said again, credit to him for taking this. But I'm going for Harila on that one. Betting. If I was to pick who I wanted to win, I'm an unbiased journalist here, not really journalist, but you know what I mean. I'd go Ryan Shelley, right? Up the Irish and all of that. But this is a betting show. My responsibility is to the people listening to this. I wouldn't want to give you a wrong bet. Now I give you, as we saw on my record, I give you wrong bets all the time. So maybe bet Ryan Shelley would be better. But that's my second bet for the week. Tobias Harila -157. It's actually like a lot of these prices are very close. I think the bookies are getting better at Cage Warriors than that, because like one of the earlier Cage Warriors, or I think it was the Belfast card, or one of them, I think I gave 4 out of 4. Like the betting lines were very, very simple, but I think they've cottoned onto it a little bit here. But anyway, the next bet, right? The next bet is one of these prices and kind of half making up the price because it's not actually here yet, but maybe by the time I put this out, the prices will have been updated, and maybe John will be able to put it in the graphic here. If not, I'll put it in the comment section below. So if you're watching this on YouTube, you'll see me, Sheehan, in there. I will put it in the comment section below. But I think the price will be around +110, maybe somewhere up to maybe a little bit more than that. And that is for Rhys McKee to get the knockout here against Jimmy Wallhead in the main event. Rhys is a -349 favourite. So I was looking at a couple of other fights there with similar sort of favoritism and what the price would be like the Borralho fight. He's a similar sort of price, and then they favour him to get the submission, and that's around +120, what did I give it? +160 in the end. Around, I think around between +110, maybe +150, maybe even up to +200. But as I said, I will update it. Anyway, that is the bet I'm giving for this fight, and do you know what? I really love this fight. I really love it. It's funny because like I did my 5 fights to look forward to this month, and I mentioned again the Sheehan Elliott fight, and I didn't give this one, and I feel like a lot of the hype coming up to it is that Elliott Sheehan fight, is the Harila fight we're talking about as well, is Ireland being in our Cage Warriors being in Ireland, but I feel like it's a little bit running under the radar here. There's Rhys McKee, Jimmy Wallhead fight, and I was great. If you haven't seen it yet, I got Graham Boylan on and we talked about it, and I have a full preview out as well for that. It'll be out before this, so check that out as well. But this fight is running under the radar a little bit, but it shouldn't be. It's such a brilliant fight. Because if you look at Jimmy Wallhead, you might be thinking, Jimmy Wallhead, I know him. He was kind of a mid-tier guy, I suppose, in the UFC for a while and in Bellator and being around. But what he is at the moment, right, is a guy who is at the end of his career. Saturday night could be his last fight, win or lose, And he's having a bit of fun. He's going in there knocking lads out and doing really well. He's enjoying it. It's an into a career, I suppose, that we never see, and it's brilliant to see. And Rhys McKee is on the opposite end then, He was in the UFC for a cup of coffee, as they say in the States. He got Hamzat, He went in there against Moreno, lost that fight, but it was a weird, do you remember it was a weird kind of fight? Do you remember that was the fight where the... If I'm not mistaken, wasn't it? The gum shield fell out and they had to go looking for it. And I think Rhys maybe won one round on one or two of the judges' cards, but they ended up losing the decision, and then he was cut. So did he really get a chance? Did you put him in there against Alex Moreno, who's a good guy? Forget about the Hamzat fight, right? Forget about that. Short notice. Forget about it. You lose it wasn't a close decision, but you lose a decision where you fought well, one of the fights of the night, and they cut you after that. That was very unfair, right? So what Rhys McKee is fighting for here is another opportunity. He's fighting for an opportunity to prove himself once again at the big show. He's fighting for what people have said about him since before he made his pro debut. I was doing podcasts before he made his pro debut, and I remember I came on, he was fighting John Redmond at 170 after coming up from 170 after coming up from 145. And I was like, should this be happening? John Redmond is 20 fights into his career. You're going up 3 weight classes, 2 weight classes, or whatever it is. And he goes out and he destroys him, And even before that, all the guys on watching the amateur fights and all that, is like Rhys McKee, he is the guy. And he has been for a large portion of his career. He's had setbacks, losses, came back and beat the same guys. Out of the UFC, came back and won the title. That fight with Justin Burlington, I've said it a few times, but maybe the most underrated fight of last year. Brilliant fight. If you haven't seen it, go out and check it out. And all of this leads to Rhys having the exact opposite of Jimmy. No pressure, Jimmy. End of his career. If he wins, brilliant. He's the interim champion right now, unifying the belt against Rhys. It's all a bonus for him. He's just gone out there to have fun and try to win. Whereas Rhys, it's all pressure. He has to do it. He has to win. He has to win. If he doesn't win this fight, he's to win maybe 3 or 4 more to get back to the UFC. He wanted to go to the UFC after his last fight. It's a massive, massive thing. And that's it. You might say, this is a betting show, Sean. Why are you giving us the whole backstory? But the backstory is here, I think, that these lads are going to be going out there looking for a knockout. Because, if you listen to my interview with Graham Bylan, and he's not the first person I've heard it from, the UFC want knockouts. If you're someone looking to get signed, you have to knock people out. It's no good anymore getting 3, 4, 5 decisions. If you go 10-0 and win 10 decisions, the UFC are not signing you. No matter how good you are. They're not. And do you know what? It's always kind of been that way a little bit, but more so now with the Contender Series and all. They have as many people as they want to fight. As they want to sign, sorry. And they're signing lads coming off the Contender Series who've all just had a finish. Right? Or an unbelievable display. But see, a lad like Paul Hughes struggling to get signed. One of the beatdowns of the year from last year. Rhys McKee will be going out there looking for a knockout, and he has to. He knows he has to. He knows he has to. And that's why I think he'll get it. Because there's no one out there with... I love Rhys McKee's mindset. They're very rare lads who come into those pressure situations, like the Tim Barnett rematch, where he beat him the first time. All the pressure in the world, he comes in there, he looks so good. Rhys has done that time and time again on this scene, and I think it's time for him to win this and go to the UFC, to be honest. But he has to get through Jimmy Wallhead, and that won't be easy, but I'm going for him to get the knockout. As I said, we'll update the price. I also like just a bit of the analytics about it, I suppose. Jimmy's been hitting very hard recently and knocking lads out, and he has throughout his career as well, but Rhys has, as Faraz Sahabi calls it, the touch of death. He is a monster puncher, and he does get hit in these fights, absolutely, and I'm sure he'll get cracked again here. Look, both of them are going to get cracked, but I feel like Rhys cracks harder, and that, I think, is the key here, and that's why I think he'll get the knockout. Right, the next bet. This is an interesting one, okay? So, the next bet I'm going for is Ryan Curtis to win, and he's at plus 190. Now, if we look at Ray Borg, we look at You know, Ian McCall down through the years. We look at all these lads with bad luck. And if you don't know Ryan Curtis, he's probably had as bad a luck as any of them. Injuries and setback after setback after. It's just been so tough on him. So tough on him. Now, he had 2 fights last year. Okay, he lost one of them, came in, he beat Ryan Taylor towards October last year. Cage were signing him for this big card. They're putting him in against a good guy like Nicolas Leblond. And it's the opportunity of a lifetime for him. Because if he wins this, you know, he can go anywhere in that division. There's a lot of good guys in there. There are a lot of big fights for him. They're coming back to Ireland again later on in the year. It's a massive opportunity for Ryan Curtis. And the thing about Ryan Curtis, he has the ability, right? I don't think there's anyone on the Irish scene, the UK, the local scene, who has seen Ryan Curtis and thinks, no, he couldn't do it, right? The only thing you'd say about Ryan Curtis is, I'm here recording this on Wednesday. The weigh-in's in 2 days. I'm like, is the fight going to happen? You know, and that's awful to think that, like, but it's just injuries in there. It could be his opponent. It could be someone could fucking slip on a banana peel. Like, he's just that unlucky, and he has been. But the quality is there. The quality is there for Ryan Curtis. And it's, 7-8 years now since he debuted. He has got a few good wins. He beat Hack. He beat Luis Gonzalez. He beat Ryan Taylor, as I said the last time out. He fought some very good guys. Look at Amir Albazi now. He's in the UFC, but that was, unfortunately in signing for Brave. And Brave putting him to the sword, basically, like they've done with a lot of fighters. But if he can go well here, I think that the sky is the limit for him, but he needs a run. He needs 1, 2, 3 fights this year, the same next year, the same the year after. And look, Nicolas Leblond is a good fighter as well, so this isn't by any means an easy one. He's very good on the ground as well. Ryan Curtis is more of a guy on the feet, so he needs to keep this fight on the feet. He needs to get his hands going, and if he can, I think that plus 190 looks a very, very good price there. It does look a good price because, he's 4 losses for Nicolas Leblond, all 4 by decision. Curtis, if he's fit, if he's raring to go, he is a guy who can kind of pick you off. Now, he's big power as well, but he can pick you off maybe over 3 rounds. This is a bet on the price, and this is on how good he used to be. 2 fights last year are a big plus for me. He's training. I think he's been training a lot with Leah McCourt and her team, and I think we saw maybe even over in Liverpool and stuff. He's been, looks like things have maybe turned around for Ryan Curtis, and if that's the truth, I think that plus 190 look a great price. Now we never know, but I'm going for that based on his ability, and based on things maybe turning for him. So Ryan Curtis plus 190. Right, the flyer of the week. This was an interesting flyer of the week because I'm going for Song Yadong to win by decision, and it's plus 550. Himself and Ricky Simon are, it's basically a pick'em fight here. I see it. He's minus 110 in one place, minus 104, minus 116, minus 105, minus 120. Very, very, very similar. The fight to go to a decision is plus 125, minus 155 to finish inside. That's very close as well. To Simon to get the knockout, plus 770, plus 200 for Yadong to get the KO, plus 260 for Simon to win inside the distance. Simon plus 400 to get the decision. So they fancy, I suppose, Yadong to win by a knockout. But it is plus 200. It's very close for the fight to go to decision and not. So I'm just leaning. I like Simon is the favourite, barely, very close as I said. But I like Yadong. I think, I like Yadong. God Almighty, I'm getting done myself now as hoisted upon my own petard. I think the problem with Song and how people are treating him now is the Corey Sandhagen fight. It's easy to look at that fight and say, okay, Jesus, is he able for this level? But with all due respect to Ricky Simon, I don't think he's necessarily that level, you know? The guys he's beaten, Jack Shore is, I think, probably his best win, but Sun Sao was a very good win too. The likes of Ray Barge he's beaten as well, you know, but, you know, and obviously Mirab back in the day, but that Mirab fight was, 5 years ago nearly at this stage. I'm not taking anything away, but you know what I mean. I lost to Rob Font, you know, so I think Yadong is just being underrated a little bit here. Like, if this fight happened before the Corey Sandhagen fight, I think he probably would have been maybe a minus 200 to win this fight, maybe a little bit more even. I think his boxing is good enough. He needs to stay off the floor against Ricky Simon. Now, look, that's been a problem. It was a problem against Sandhagen for a while. But I don't think Ricky Simon is necessarily this might sound weird, but maybe the type of wrestler that he will have as big a problem with as Sandhagen. I think Simon, obviously we've seen him submit some good guys. Still in all, he only has 4 submission wins in a row in his career. Out of 2010 fights have gone to a decision. I think the Jack Shore submission makes him look better than he possibly is, and I think the Sandhagen fight makes him look worse than he actually is. Now, will that level out? Maybe, but I also think that has pushed the price in a direction that's probably a little bit wrong. But I do think this will be a close fight. I do think there will be rounds where Simon gets the fight to the ground and is looking for submission. I do think there'll be rounds where Yadong keeps the fight on the feet and wins it there. Now, he might get the knockout. No, maybe I'm wrong in this, but I just feel like a lot of the time here, right, and this one as well, don't forget this, it was switched to a 5-round fight, 10 days, 2 weeks ago? And a lot of time when that happens, I think lads really do try to conserve themselves a little bit more. And it's actually, there's more of a proclivity to go to 5 rounds in those sort of fights. And I feel like that's what's going to happen here. So it's going to be a long fight, I think. It's going to be a drawn-out fight. I think Song can stop the takedowns or stop long periods for 3 rounds, win it, and I think he'd win the decision. So, plus 550 for the decision, Song Yadong. Let's do it. Right. Let's run through some of the other bets. Obviously, I'll give you the straight-up prices there on that one. Minus 120, minus 105-ish. Simon the favourite. Borralho, big favourite as I mentioned. Plus 270 for Oleksiejczuk. Plus minus 350, minus 374 in one place I see here for Borralho. Rodolfo Vieira is the favourite over Cody Brundage. Let's see what price the submission is there. If it's up, minus 120. That's not a bad price. Although I've backed Vieira by submission before, and it's not come up for me. So maybe that's bad luck of me. I'm not betting it this week. So maybe it's your time to bet it this week. Rogerio against Waldo Cortez Acosta. Acosta is plus 160. The underdog minus 185 for Rogerio. I think that's about right. Julian Rosa, I like him at that price, minus 125 against Fernando Pedipla. I also like an Arosa knockout. I think is always a good kind of flyery bet, plus 500 there. So let's have a look at that. Trey Waters, Josh Quinlan. Quinlan is the favourite, minus 180. Someone was asking me about Jake Collier, Martin Boudet. And they were saying, like, why is Boudet such an underdog here against Collier? Or sorry, not why is he such an underdog. Why is it so close? It's like Boudet should be massively ahead. And I think he's right, to be honest. And I will pick Boudet here. But also, you never know what Jake Collier is going to turn up. There's certain fighters like that. I'm like, And do you know who's like that? Khalil Roundtree a little bit. Most of the time, like, he's like, and I hate this word, but a bit mid. Like Ben Askren's wife. According to Ben Askren. That's not me saying that. That's Ben Askren saying that. But sometimes he just turns up and he's like, Jesus, this lad's good. And is Saturday night going to be one of those nights? We'll see. Charles Johnson, Cody Durden. Johnson is the underdog there. I'd go with Gordon on that one, plus 120. I like him there. Egger, big favourite, minus 275 over Erdini. Yeah. Brian Kelleher, boom, minus 133. Go with the Irish lad there against Johnny Newson, plus 113. And Haley Cowan, the underdog against Jamie Lynn Harth, minus 145 to plus 125. Let's have a look at Cage Warriors. I think, as I said, they've gotten better with the betting here, I think, and they're piling on kind of towards the favourites. Jimmy Wallhead, Rhys, McKee, minus 349 for Rhys. Jimmy Wallhead, plus 274. Shelley and Harila, as I told you about that earlier, minus 158 for Harila, plus 128 for Shelley. The Open Elliott James Sheehan fight, toss of a coin. Look, James Sheehan is the underdog here, plus 110. Open Elliott, minus 140. I think it's a toss of a coin. I'll say it to you again. Who's the one to bet on? It's probably James Sheehan because he's plus 110. If Open Elliott was plus 110, I'd probably tell you to bet on him. You know, that's honestly how I think we would go with it. I think they just have it about right. I think, look, if you're to force me to pick, I would probably go with Oban. But if James Sheehan has improved at the rate he's been improving, then that advantage for Oban is taken away. And I truly mean that. This is a brilliant fight. A brilliant fight. Can't wait to see it. Morgan Charrier in his late notice opponent, he's minus 900 of a favourite. We spoke about Leblond Curtis. Decky McAleen and is the underdog against Wasi Adesanya. I looked up some of Adesanya's fights. I tried to look up some of Adesanya's fights. There isn't really much out there, to be honest. Decky, another one of these guys, he's dangerous. So maybe not a bad bet there, but hard to give a bet when I haven't seen much of his opponent. Pick and fight between Tucker and Darby as well, minus 115 each. Maybe a good fight to back Darby in, to be honest. I think he's better than he's definitely better than his last show. He got knocked out in 21 seconds, something like that. I like that price on him. Leon Hill, Martin, Zimbella. I think if Leon Hill keeps that fight in the feed, I think the 277 looks good. Zimbella good on the ground, plus 117. Maybe if there's a Flier submission price there or something when they come out. Owain Williams is a big underdog against Kyle McClurkin. Takamandu is a big favourite as well, minus 235. I like Tak. I think he'll win that. Paddy McCrory as well, a big favourite, as is Solomon Simon, minus 375. One of the best amateurs Ireland has had in a very, very long time, as is Alexander O'Sullivan, who's probably had more amateur fights than anyone coming in here. I think for his second professional fight, he's a big favourite over Afrim Taki and then Adam Shelley. Another late notice opponent, he was supposed to fight Dean Barry. He's the minus 700 favourite over Mohammed Kaler at the mat. So some interesting fights there on both the Cage Warriors and UFC shows. Octagon as well have a card this weekend. Shimrock, I know, who's from Ireland as well as on it. Ireland via Liverpool. He's an underdog on that one against Arthur Lima, and I'm sure Octagon are doing better and better stuff all the time. Very hard. There's a lot of stuff going around to concentrate on all of it, but they are doing some good stuff, so I would encourage anyone to check that out. But those are my bets for the week. Let me recap again quickly here. First bet, Borralho to win by submission, plus 160. Tobias Harila, minus 158 to win straight up. Rhys, McKee by KO. As I said, we'll get that price for you. Ryan Curtis, plus 190. And Song Yadong to win by a decision, plus 550. Alright everyone, I will leave it there. My name is Sean Sheehan for Sherdog.com. If you haven't seen my interview with Graham Byron, check it out. If you haven't seen my interview with Chatri Sitchatong, check it out. They're up here. Scroll down if you're on YouTube and watch them. Do you know what? They're very good, even if I do say so myself. Alright, I'll leave it there. Thanks everyone for listening. Good luck.